The point is, it's not just about the future for many people. It's about the present. This is an aerial view of what the village of the Choctaw indigenous peoples from Ile de Jean-Charles, Louisiana, looks like. This used to be, 100 years ago, a vibrant farming community. It's now sinking below the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. It's not about the future for many people, such as the Inupiat of Shishmaref, Alaska, where the lack of Arctic sea ice makes the storm waves much more violent and is eating their settlement into the Arctic Ocean. It's not about the future for people like those in northeast Syria, who, apart from the civil war, are suffering from an epochal drought where 1 million people have been turned into refugees. And it's not about the future for the people of the Sahel in Africa. Here's a remarkable image of Lake Chad. In 1963, it was a lake 200 miles long that spanned the border of Niger, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Chad. It began shrinking in 73, in 87, in 97, and in 2007, you see what's left is effectively a puddle. And 2.5 million people from those 4 countries have been displaced as a result. It's not about the future, it's about the present for the people in Bangladesh, where roughly 18 million people live on land that will be underwater within a decade. The things that you read on the internet and in the media and that you're told to worry about are stronger and more frequent hurricanes, rising sea levels, hotter summers and people dying of heat stroke, and the demise of the polar bears. Now, I like polar bears as much as anyone else, and those other issues are ones to keep in mind. But the things I worry about are spreading tropical diseases as the warming climate changes the places where the vectors of these diseases can live. I worry about the carbon dioxide and the methane that's stored in the boreal bogs, that strip of land between the permafrost and the forests of Siberia, Canada, and Alaska, which stores more carbon dioxide and methane than we have produced in the last 250 years by burning fossil fuel. If that were all exhausted to the atmosphere in a short period of time, the climate change would be catastrophic. I worry about biodiversity collapse, where our changing climates are forcing species to extinction, an extinction rate estimated between 100 and 1,000 times the average background rate over the Earth's history. And I worry about freshwater exhaustion, where many parts of the world have been using up the aquifers to irrigate crops and to supply water to their people, and these aquifers, which recharge at the timescales of tens of thousands of years, have had their water exhausted on timescales of tens of years. What this means for agriculture and for human livelihood is potentially very severe. So this is not the first time that living creatures have fundamentally altered the Earth. The cyanobacteria produced oxygen back 2 or 3 billion years ago, and after working on it for 1 billion years or so, changed the composition of the atmosphere drastically from having no oxygen to having 20% oxygen. But it is the first time that a set of creatures can alter the atmosphere and make a decision not to. This is not the first time the Earth's climate has changed. I've showed you the records we have over hundreds of thousands and even millions of years. But it's the first time that the change may or may not be within our control. And it's not the first time the Earth's future is uncertain. But neither cockroaches nor elephants worry about their grandchildren. It's just the first time that the concept of future is meaningful to a species on the surface of our planet. It's important to end this class by noting that the problem is not insoluble. The amount of solar energy reaching the Earth is more than 5,000 times our current global energy use. We need to only capture a couple of hundredths of 1% of that energy and put it to use to satisfy the global energy demand. And to give you a visual picture of that, this is the size of the piece of the Sahara Desert that would have to be carpeted with solar cells to produce all the energy the world needs. Now, this is not a solution to the problem because getting electricity from the Sahara Desert to Australia is an insoluble problem. But it represents the tiny fraction of the Earth's surface that we have to carpet with solar cells and build windmills to capture the fraction of the sun's energy we need to supply all of human energy requirements. So this is not an insoluble problem. The solar energy reaching the Earth more than satisfies our needs if we can harness it correctly. There's also plentiful uranium and thorium were we to use nuclear power over the next few decades as a bridge to that totally renewable future. And it's important to note that while individual actions help, not eating meat on Friday, riding your bike to work instead of your car, they are not a solution to the global problem. Global warming is a planetary-wide phenomenon produced by a planetary-wide species that occupies virtually every ecological niche on the planet. And to solve it is going to require a global solution.